Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and a tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the Thursday edition of my bi-weekly behind-the-scenes DM-only live stream, Crafting the Deep, which I build right and prepare for our next session of Call from the Deep. You are playing characters Gottwald, Mock, Sabra, or Twirl. This stream is not meant for you to be full of spoilers, but for the rest of you, welcome. We stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday. You can join our official Discord server with my link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. For our campaign, we use Roll20. For streaming, I use OBS Studio. Anybody else watching Agatha all along? Because I am loving that series. Right now, we just finished episode 4, I think, and it is amazing. Practical effects, great acting, intriguing storyline that really kind of builds off of characters they introduced in WandaVision, introduced a bunch of new characters, extremely steamy, hot chemistry between Catherine Hahn and Aubrey Plaza. Oh my God. That's worth the price of admission alone. Aubrey Plaza, goodness sakes. Very, very good series, though. So and Marvel's been a bit of a roller coaster lately. Hasn't just the whole post Infinity Saga obviously hasn't been the hit after hit that I think they were enjoying in the Infinity Saga, but I would argue this has been one of the good ones so far. Really, really enjoying it. So no spoilers at all, but it also reminds me of WandaVision in that it kind of keeps you guessing about what's going on and just does a good job with the world building, and it's appropriate for the season too. It's all got this witchy stuff going on. Really fun credit sequence also. Marvel, I don't think that gets talked about enough, where they have really fun like a closing credit sequence in a lot of their series. Even if the series is kind of mid, I find like the credit sequence is just really, really good, and like the musical choice is good. Like the productions are always pretty solid, but it's the storyline and the way it connects things that can be a bit hit or miss. And I think Agatha's definitely a hit so far, but it's not over yet. I guess it could always do dumb things. I'm sorry yet, not seen episode 4 yet. Not sure about it. It's giving me hocus pocus vibes. I assume that's a compliment, Revis. Most people really like hocus pocus, but no, I will say it's a lot more serious than that. I think. I mean, it still has the Marvel quippiness for sure, but I think they do a good job. And honestly, steamy, fucking steamy. I'm telling you. Dang, that is, which was not a hocus pocus thing. All right. I guess we're still talking about Tentrix's floating layer, although we talked about it a lot on Monday. I did reach out to Chris. I have not had a chance to talk to him yet about how best to introduce his character. If he wants to just do kind of a normal, introduction where he just ends up on a boat right after them, or yeah, he's hiding under the boat the whole time, or maybe we can do something really wild where he's left on the ship and we do a big attack on there. Unfortunately, I need to get his input before I can kind of pull the trigger on doing any of those kind of story things versus just having him show up later in this battle, which we talked about. We're going to kind of, start unleashing and rolling initiative for everybody in here and just treating it like a giant war zone that the party is probably not going to be very well equipped to deal with, although I am going to pace it out a little bit. But part of it depends on where the party is. And, we don't have a full party again, right? We had reduced party last week without Gottwald, and then this week I think we're going to be down a Mac with Raymond out of town, so he'll be disappeared. So even with a full 4-person party, I think this would be a challenging fight because they are getting lower on resources. They are still all very good on hit points, but I know like Savra's spell slots are running out, for example. And that certainly plays into their ability to take out lots and lots of dudes. I will be rolling initiative for more people. I don't even know. I guess I could go through and see which ones I need to roll for initiative right now. That might actually help me. Can I track it right now? See if I go to bottom floor. And then I was going to start kind of getting ahead of things a little bit and talking about the future. Okay, so I think we've got most everybody on this first floor. These are the kind of things where I can see why you'd want like everybody to roll one initiative instead of having multiples. Let's see, orc. I can't find this. Okay, that orc's up there. For some reason that bandit's on the GM layer. Not sure how that happened. Monculus, Toril. There's a lizard folk down there. Okay, that's the one down with Savra. Goblin. Honestly, I don't really care about this goblin. He can fuck off. He was kind of like a joke thing for the bar. Let's just get rid of him. Bandit. Is that one that's down here? Yes, it is. Okay, there's Mac over there. We've got this lizard folk. I'm like itemizing all my dudes. All right, that's part of the bartender crew. Thug, part of the bartender crew. Bandit. Actually, wow, that's really handy. Like almost all these guys are in a row on initiative. Look at that. I know, it is a lot of tokens. And I've read some advice on people saying I need to like condense them and make them run as a group and everything, which I could do. I feel like that Taylor Swift song, like, look what you made me do. Like, you guys started this fight. I was not planning on, aggroing all these guys. But this is just a classic, like, oh, oops, I aggroed the dungeon. And now the dungeon master's like, well, yeah, you did. So this is kind of the consequence, basically. Like, do I purposely play it easy and only have some guys at a time? Or do we just literally run everybody to the fullest extent of their power? We've got the goblin boss down here who's active. I think I do need to roll for the ogre zombie and let him bust out of here because he's probably a defensive measure. Charon's already on there. Okay, I've got another bandit on the GM layer. Those must be the ones that were on the top layer and then went down to the first layer. So that's kind of confusing. Because unfortunately, when you roll initiative, it's tied to that specific token. So I guess I need to actually move individual tokens. But if you copy a token and paste it on the new map, I don't think that moves their initiative also. So if I put you, because these guys I think were on the very top layer, right? Did I put them? Yeah, so that's these guys. Which these two are now, I believe, on the second floor. So the players won't see this. And unfortunately, they won't highlight for me. So that's the only issue that gets a little messed up. So maybe it's better for me to just re-roll their initiative. So that one is at 18, and the other one's at 6. So why don't we do that? So remember 18 and 6. So if I can get all this organized before the session, that would actually be a lot of help. What's the point of even doing these crafting streams if I'm not getting organized before the session? So that's these two right here. So why don't we... And then I don't think I've rolled initiative for any of these three either. So let's just go ahead and do that. Let's roll initiative for all 5 of these guys. Actually, 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They'll all be tied to this level if I... Wait, why didn't it... 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Group initiative. But then for 2 of them, we want to keep them as 18 and 6. So let's see if we can do that. Hey, Captain Mike. Okay, so we'll make this guy the 6. And then we'll make the other one the 18. Where did you end up? That one, that one. Actually, pretty close on both of them. All right, just to be fairsy squaresy, so their initiative hasn't changed. And I think they'll generally stay on that level and use range attacks. I think the thug, thug has a heavy crossbow. Or they could pop out of this area and also use range attacks from below. So the only tricky thing from my point of view is I'll have to pop over to this map just to remind myself where their positioning is. And then the circle thing might not work. I don't actually know how our API combat thing interacts with multiple levels. It's funny, we've never really come into that problem very often in all of our years of playing D&D. I guess we don't have a whole lot of multi-level dungeons, probably for this reason. And typically, if you have a multi-level dungeon, it's, you go down the stairs, then you're in that level of the dungeon for, however many a time. You're usually not fighting on, multiple levels simultaneously, I guess, which is like, I mean, this is basically like you're fighting in a little miniature town essentially with multiple levels and buildings involved. So it's a lot going on. I've not aggroed the barracks necessarily. I probably won't here. All right, so do we aggro? Maybe we keep all these guys back here as kind of his defensive vanguard. Let's go ahead and roll initiative for, because I did say that these guys are alerted now with the homunculus. Obviously, Max up there with the Morenoloth, and Salva's been casting spells. The whole place is essentially just at the start of being aggroed. So Filch has responded. Actually, Filch probably doesn't even have to fly back, right? Because he's got telepathy with the homunculus. So I'm not sure he even has to physically fly back, right? Even though I did have him do that. What was that on the second floor? Let's go look at our homunculus friend again. Telepathic bond. While the homunculus is on the same plane of existence as its master, it can magically convey what it senses to its master, and the two can communicate telepathically. Okay. So it doesn't actually have to physically fly back. It can telepathically communicate. Maybe he flew just to get out of the way, which is fine. So definitely alerted Tentrix. And then Tentrix's response, I guess I could go ahead and roll initiative for him. But I do want to not have him get aggroed immediately. He does have a lot of ranged AoE spells we talked about that he could employ, like Call Lightning he could set up. But he has to be able to see the point to strike the lightning, I believe. 120-foot range to summon the storm cloud. But then when you cast a spell, choose a point you can see under the cloud. And then bolts of lightning fire down. You could argue he could step out of his ship and attack Mac with that, because Mac's also on this top level, not on this map right now. But he's gonna be gone next week, and I was gonna hand wave him, being like, just either he's up there dueling the Morenoloth the whole time and taking the Morenoloth out of the combat, or the Morenoloth like teleported him and Mac away somewhere else, and the players lost sight of him. But either way, I was gonna like take the Morenoloth out of the fight basically while Mac was here. And in fact, I may, depending on what happens next week, I may have Mac just defeat the Morenoloth off camera, since that's kind of what he was planning on doing anyway. And it's just a funny scene where he just spent the whole time like dueling this creature, which he would normally be able to probably kill in a single round or two. All right, so if we roll initiative for Scumma. Oh my god, I rolled a nat 1. He's a 3. Jesus. Look at the initiative range. Like, Savra as a wizard with a 21, which is crazy, all the way down to like the lowest of the low. In fact, 3.17, by the way, that Captain Scummer got is nat 1. He's not even the lowest one on here. There's some lower 3s and a 2. My goodness. Toril as a 9 still has like 13 people going after him. Gottwald's initiative order will matter a lot. All right, well, that's a bummer. And Scummer was going to have to spend, what, 2 rounds just getting up there in general. So that'll give the party some time to soften through a bunch of minions. My plan with him was probably to turn invisible and then run outside. He's got 30 feet of movement. Which I would probably just let him jump. He's got I assume slots have a decent strength score. So he have a strength of at least like 10. 18 strength. All right. So you can easily pop out here, jump across, because this is the same level here. It's 10. 20. So you can make it about right here. And then it would take you another round just to get to, if you didn't dash, get to the middle of this second floor where all the other guys are like pressed against the windows shooting crossbows and hurling spears. If he dashed, he could get out onto the ramparts and be able to properly take out the party. Again, depending on where they've gone, I'm gonna have to play it by ear and see how they want to go through this whole fight essentially. But yes, one thing that Scummer would probably try to do is throw fireballs at their ship they came in on. and trap them here. Homunculus share sensibility would let him call lightning without going outside. That's actually a fun idea, James. And then you could also flavor it like if the party could obviously target the homunculus and then stop his ability from doing that. Which homunculus I don't think is exactly a challenging stat block to deal with. Yeah, AC 13 with 5 hit points. Doesn't exactly have any other abilities. I guess, well, I was going to say Scummer could cast invisibility on the homunculus, maybe, if it's not self-only. But then he wouldn't be able to cast it on himself also. But that's a fun idea. Homunculus like flies out and can then direct the lightning blasts. And that's kind of a way to just, I think it's a fun thing. Like while they're here and Tentrix is just raining down lightning bolts and kind of maybe forces them to go inside a building. I think that's actually tactically interesting, right? Like you've got this once round like lightning bolt coming down and zapping you, and you're like, well, shit, if I can get under cover, then I don't get zapped by this lightning. So I do like the idea of using Call Lightning in this situation. I may delay it by a turn. 21st does that. In fact, I could do Voice the Kraken first. When is the best time to use that ability? It's a once per combat ability. He does 300 feet, which covers the entire map. He can choose who is affected by it. Force them to make a DC 15 Charisma saving throw or be frightened, and you can repeat the save at the end of each turn. Frightened means you can't move closer to the source of the fear, I think. Although, would they then know what the source of the fear is? I can spell frightened. Frightened creature has disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls, while the source of its fear is within line of sight. So even though you can do it at 300 feet, and all you have to do is hear them, I feel like that's... I wonder if they changed that in the new rules. It's too bad that it's line of sight based when fear should be based on like whatever just caused that fear effect. I'll look that up real quick and see if the new version changed that. No, it still says the exact same thing. You have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls while the source of fear is within line of sight. So it's kind of pointless to use this if you can't actually see him. Although the other effect is that you can't move closer to the source of the fear. Can't willingly move closer to the source of fear. Which you'd have to, I guess, as a DM, pinpoint where the source of the fear is and prevent that from moving closer. But yeah, I think I should save that until the party is obviously within line of sight, and then to prevent the melee people from getting up close to him is when he'd probably want to use that. Yeah, in the meantime, Call Lightning is going to be probably his go-to concentration ability. He can hurl Thunderbolts, apparently, with a range of 60 feet. With a reach of 60 feet, I guess. That's how it's worded, so technically a melee attack that's got a 60-foot range. So he could at least step outside and do that, but yeah, I'm liking the Call Lightning. He doesn't have spell slots either, it's just once per day, so I guess he just casts it at 3rd level. But 3d10 is what, about 16, 17 damage? Scare people on the sea, yeah, that's true. Alright, so I think we like the idea of using that. He gets some water walking himself. He does have counter spell, but that's got a range of 60 feet. Command is actually kind of a fun one to do. Also 60 feet. Ooh, he's got shield and armor of Agathis. Okay, that's going to help his survivability a lot. Phantasmal Killer's also concentration. Yeah, all his good ones are all his big spells are concentration based. Command as like a legendary action would be fun though if it's not his damage spell. Because then command is honestly I think underrated. It's basically like a hey you lose your turn kind of an ability. Because all the effects say whatever happens you end your turn afterwards. So it's like you get a skipped turn thing. Which is devastating for players, and I've made complaints about like the stunned condition and stuff. But the difference here between those kind of spells is this only lasts the one turn, and then it immediately is spent. Versus like a stunning somebody or putting them under some kind of huge debuff could potentially last the entire combat if they can't get out of it. Which is I always like Baldur's Gate's solution to that, which is like, hey, everything lasts 2 rounds. We're just gonna average it out. Everything lasts 2 rounds. I'm like, oh, okay, it's not a bad way of doing it. Hey, Shane, thank you. Starting Icewind Dale, Run with the Frostman is the first time DM, and your videos have helped me so much on crafting the story. Awesome. Well, good luck. That's, I'll admit, that's a very challenging campaign as a first-time DM for sure. Well, I would say the first like third of that campaign, I think, is really solid, and if you work it towards the whole Duergar threat and kind of that limited open world thing, I think that works out very well. I think it's the other 2/3 that gets a little wonky and cause me to twist into knots to make the story compelling. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the challenge of making it happen and putting all those pieces together, I think. The Kraken Priest in the prison area will probably stay here. I don't really have the treasure room that it says is in one of these locations. Not that my party needs many more treasures, good lord. Give them so much. Let's see. The bar technically has a magical thing. I'm not going to worry about that. It's chamber. Tentrix's quarters has a chest. With a poison needle, 800 GP, 2 emeralds, and a whalebone idol of Slarkarthel, which grants long-term madness, apparently. The gold-plated chest alone is worth 2,500 gold pieces. Chest is locked. But that is important. I need to have something that's in his boss room the players can learn. The location of Slarkarthel and the Kraken Society main base and everything. Also, I realized that with the Merid quest I want to set up, which, again, I'm going to try to set up, but who knows if the party is going to take the bait on this Merid, which that's actually probably the first action that Tentrix will do. He'll set out Scummer, and then he'll summon the Merid, which he maybe already used once before. And then the Merid can do its fun thing about floating up like 60 feet in the air and shooting its freaking fire hose down at people. And I plan on being weirdly, like, jovial with the Merid, personable and all these things, so that maybe the party is clued into the fact that this is an enemy, but maybe an unwilling enemy. They can either choose to defeat, or technically they could try and get to Tentrix. Basically, I would treat it where if they defeat the Merid kind of poofs, and then Tentrix has to like use it again or something to have it come back, which has got 200 hit points to poof through, which is pretty bad. But maybe he could even talk to the party and be like, yeah, my master who's back over there is, afraid wants all of you to all your heads mounted on oars or, whatever, and be pretty talkative to the party. Because if they can get control of the Merid, which I would definitely have it be like the Merid conch like dangling from Tentrix's belt, then I would totally let them have this ally, and that could really turn things around. I think that'd be a lot of fun. In lieu of perhaps doing that with Captain Scummer, which the written adventure actually says Tentrix has the control gem for Captain Scummer, and that's how he's using this green slod in his armies. He's the most disloyal, I guess, of the Black Armada crew. He's literally just being directly controlled by Tentrix. But I don't want to have that plus the Marid be like two major enemies the party can easily like take. Although there's, yeah, because it would be direct control, I guess. If you take the control gem, then you have the control of the slot, and my party would definitely have no moral compunctions about controlling him, I think. But I don't think I did want to do that. Plus the Merit, I think the Merit is more fun. And the Merit has useful story connotations. First of all, he has the fucking plane shift spell, which is very important. And he also has his own quest line, which we can go over during this crafting stream, which I think is a really fun quest that's, I believe, mostly social based. But basically, he plane shifts. He asks if they can help him recover his ship that he used to have. But it's in the elemental plane of water. So after they deal with all this Tentrix stuff, he can plane shift everybody to the elemental plane of water to get that done. And it's basically just a tavern thing, I believe. Let's see. I mean, a great seafaring vessel. Can't remember the exact nature of the ship nor where he stored it. This is his memory was stolen by a Yugoloth. Thinks the creature was working for his great rival. Characters allow him. He casts plane shift, take the card to the elemental plane of water, blah, and track down the Hydroloth. Characters arrive at the Isle of Dread in the Sea of Worlds. Opticos is certain the Hydroloth is nearby, must be confirmed by locals. Enormous striped nautilus shell, half submerged beneath the waves, resting on golden palm-lined beaches. All variety of creatures inhabit the place, drinking strong spiced rum, watered-down grog. The owner of the establishment is an awakened killer whale called Captain Clipper. That's fantastic. I have a great whale voice that I used for when reading to my daughters that they enjoy. Captain Clipper is a total gossip. Persuasion Jake is a blab about Yugoloth, hiring themselves out of the tavern on a regular basis. Mercenaries in the coral chamber of the tavern might prove useful. Underwater room, which contains a Mesoloth mercenary. Discussion with sea-looking pirates. I guess you can defeat the pirates there. Reveals a Hydroloth named Honorio is well known through the thief. Drop in the tavern. I mean, it's all like a big like social thing to where I don't even know if I need much of a map here. I guess there could be battles. There's an assassin. Reveal a Hydroloth named Honorio. Okay, so I guess you can do a couple different things to learn the location. Yeah, all around the bar. This really requires buy-in from the players to just really ham it up and RP in this scene. Triton nobles. After 3 days pass, the Hydroloth turns up the mermaid's purse looking for work. Wrapped up in a discussion with a sea hag customer. Characters fight enemies also fight the hag. Actually, characters get a chance to talk. Hired by the Sultan to steal Klaptikos' memory of the ship. Beats the thing on the material plane on an island scattered with huge skeletons. No one doesn't know the name of the place. Okay, so you're actually going there not to get the ship, but to get the knowledge of where the ship is. Whalebones Islands west of Waterdeep. Recovering this information, Klaptikos teleports himself and the characters to the Whalebones. So yeah, that's the entire event in the elemental plane of water. It's basically you at a tavern doing like a stakeout with a bunch of just hilarious wild characters, and it doesn't even actually go as hilarious or crazy as I was picturing it does. I might have to embellish that a little bit, but I thought that'd be a fun little side jaunt. And then they come back here, find the ship, the Flying Squid. The ship has been breached by a gang of 8 berserkers. Most boring army I can think of. With a gladiator. Wields a +1 spear. Characters to fight the crew to get the ship back, although killing as like, because why wouldn't you not have like a cool big monster or something? Flying Squid is a sailing ship powered by, you know what? Maybe this is where we use the fucking zombie dragon turtle. I talked about not like liking that encounter that was guarding the Nelanther Isles, but couldn't really squeeze it in there because I was worried we had too much fighting, and now we have too much fighting. But this might be a good opportunity to use such a creature. Yeah, maybe the ship has been taken and we can actually use, and maybe we can even use the whole sea tower thing, or at least just have this giant monster thing. Maybe it's just an island of death, like it's an elephant graveyard, but like for sea creatures on an island, but one of them is not quite dead. It's like this zombie dragon turtle. So we can still maybe fight it on land, I guess, on an island. And is a dragon turtle that interesting when it's not in the water? The flying ship is powered by water elemental. It can be summoned by Klaptikos and bound to a gyroscopic adamantine prison in the hold. Yeah, you can use conjure elemental. The ship is twice as fast as its ilk and only requires a crew of 5. Pretty cool. So basically, new ship. he can also just cast plane shift, which I think essentially lets you teleport around. So he could teleport them to where they need to go as a reward also. But you could argue that, like, oh, you've also been given this sexy ship. I would probably make it just a cool, like, airship or something that effectively allows them to skip over, you know, everything they need and go directly to their final place. And they would still. Well, I don't. That's a good question, actually. Do I want to give them the merit as an actual permanent ally with the ship, or do I want to flavor it as, okay, now that Merritt has possession of the ship and he's bidding farewell to the party, but as a parting gift, he will teleport them to where they need to go. That also means they don't have really a good, like, escape plan, though. I guess I'll leave it up to them, and the players can figure it out. But I like the whole concept behind the Merid as a enemy, then a quest giver, and then an ally, and having this whole side quest thing. There's no way for me to. Well, there is a way for me to tease the fact that this enemy has more going on, and that's how I'm going to try to flavor it by having him be very talkative and, like I said, jovial and charismatic during the fight itself, and make it seem like, you know, yes, he's being controlled and forced to fight the party because he's bound by the merit conch, but he is not bound to not tell them any of that, much to Tentrix's chagrin, I'm sure. And I don't think having all that content I just listed would add too much to the adventure, and I think it would be fun to do, just, again, have that elemental plane of water sequence be just pure social shenanigans with obviously some battle involved if we need to, but just kind of a fun exotic underwater tavern. Good luck to me finding a map that does that. And then couching that with just kind of a big boss fight. I would definitely not do 8 berserkers and a gladiator. That sounds fucking boring as shit. It's going to get actually absolutely annihilated by our high level wizard. But I love the idea of maybe introducing the zombie dragon turtle, some kind of big, you know, it's just being guarded by some big ass cool monster instead. I mean, the players are going to be level, they're already level 10, right? I'm trying to remember now. Unfortunately, them and the patron D&D game are like right at the same level range, so it gets a little confusing for me. And I don't know if I should level them up again after the whole Tentrix thing. I probably should. But that means they would be 11 going into Purple Rocks and Ascarl. And then maybe when they do all the Purple Rock stuff, and maybe when they make it into Ascarl properly, that's a gigantic dungeon, I can actually level up to 12, and they would be actually 12 for a good chunk of the final dungeon area. So that's a little bit higher level than I was planning, but, you know, my party's not going to complain. They like leveling up. And it's just slightly higher level than what the campaign suggests. I think they're supposed to be basically 10 and 11 for the final dungeon. Instead, I'm thinking it might be more like 11 and 12. Yeah. Well, and I was you know, Nate, as you recall, I was picturing having this be the social thing that kind of, you know, helped break up the pacing between a lot of combat that we did recently, but instead the party kind of forced a combat encounter here, and this is going to now be a gigantic combat encounter. I'm still willing for them to get out of this combat encounter if they can retreat or somehow get into stealth mode. I don't see them being able to do any kind of social thing unless they surrender. If they fully surrender and allow themselves to be stripped of all their stuff and thrown in the brig, then that would be a way to do it, because Tentrix might do that in order to properly, like, make a show of their execution and stuff, or maybe contact, you know, the Slarkerthel and just see what he thinks and all that. There's about a 0% chance the party would be okay with that. Maybe your parties are different, but mine would never, ever, 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 ever submit to surrender that involved, like, losing all their stuff, you know, being put in a chest, like, you know, almost like a fade to black thing where suddenly you appear in prison without any of your stuff, you know, and all your stuff is, like, conveniently locked in a chest that's right outside the prison. Shout out to, like, you know, Baldur's Gate and Skyrim and all those games that do that. They have the very clearly labeled evidence chest that just has all of your stuff. They're ready to go, which I always appreciated. I know. They're not going to do it. They would never do it. I would be very nervous about doing that as I think it would be fun on if the players have a plan, something better than a concept of a plan. And plus that really speaks to like, oh well, our wizard doesn't need stuff, kind of. Then it gets into the whole material thing though, because if you take their spell pouch or whatever, then I guess they can't really cast spells very effectively or spell focus. You have to gag them and do all those other things, but what prison could hold them? Basically, you think about that kind of. I think it would lead to some really cool, interesting storytelling. But I totally get why the players would be like, hell no, we're not doing that. Now, maybe if I can actually start downing people, knocking them unconscious, and people are legit afraid of dying, then maybe you can force them to surrender. And this would be a situation. Not every, if they're in the middle of a dungeon filled with undead or something, that's not really an out that the group has, where there's no one to surrender to. For example, you're just going to get eaten. But in this case, yes, I think I would allow them to be surrendered, to surrender at least temporarily, and be thrown in prison. Maybe do a fun thing where like he's interviewing them one at a time or something, and just the party can come up with some plan from there, and that would change the whole context of what happens here. I think all of that is more interesting than doing a knockdown drag out fight, but that's just me. So we've got. I guess I could roll. So I should roll for Tentrix. Also, I guess we should go and do that. So we rolled for the 5 people in here. They're all going to engage the party from the second floor. We've got all the people on the first level, I think, is currently aggroed. These 2 guys on the stairs, are they in the initiative order? Let's go through everybody real quick. Don't actually think they are. They are not. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring them on here. They came down the stairs. They didn't have to do that though. I was kind of dumb about that. They could have stayed on the second level, right? Because there's fucking windows up here. So screw that. Let's keep them up here. Because I keep forgetting this is a multi-level area, and they should have people that are up there firing down at them, basically. And I can use the cover system. So let's roll initiative for these 2 up here. Man, my initiative roll is just generally pretty bad. All right, so we'll take these 2 off the board. And they can be shooting down at Sabra or at Toril, I guess. Or if Gottwald spawns, down here by the ship, then Gottwald will be a target as well. Let's see. The Goblin Captain, when do you get to go? Did you already free the Ogre Zombie or not? Is it? He's about halfway down the initiative at 15. So I could wait. I could have that be the Goblin's next action, because he ran up and opened the doors, saw the situation, then ran back. So maybe during his next turn, he will use an action to free the Ogre Zombie, and then I will roll initiative for the Ogre Zombie after that, and allow him to, like, charge out. Which, yeah, awkwardly, Twirl sent his Big B's hand through this entrance, but he has no vision of it, so he can't really do anything from there, I guess. The spellcasting bard could, which everybody did empty this area originally because of the giant sickening radiance there. I did keep the orc veteran behind. Not quite a mini boss, but definitely stronger than the others. He's the bartender. Just because the bartender really need to fight, maybe. It's not that much stronger. It's mainly stronger defensively. He's got average attacks and multi-attack. but he's got 58 hit points and 17 armor class. He's more tanky. Fortunately, there's no door down here. There is a door here where the ogre zombie and the goblin captain is, so I could have him popping out the entrance, but I just don't know the bartender. Bartender probably just wants to, like, defend his bar. So I might actually keep him back here and being on defensive mode. And then the bard probably is similar. So by the way, max token is just here, so it's not where the party can see it, but where his initiative still shows up here because I can't get rid of his token. I think we looked at the bard's stat block before, and I was generally unimpressed with the kind of combat spells. We've got Charm Person only protects the bard themselves. Healing Word is a very, very light heal. I guess he could do 1d4 plus spell casting. Is almost too much of a pain in the ass to do it. Heroism gains temporary hit points equal to your spellcasting ability modifier at the start of each turn, which would be, what, 2? Also not really worth doing, 2 temporary hit points every turn. This is probably why I don't use buffs on fellow enemies. It's much better to do damage. You can invisibility anybody. Shatter is probably the go-to. Thunderwave is good, but that's near him within 15-foot cube, whereas Shatter is a 10-foot radius sphere at a range of 60 feet. I guess, but like, what is he doing as action? Like, I guess he can fire a short bow into the crowd, but picturing this guy literally armed with like a musical instrument. He does have the taunt ability, but that's also a bonus action. Target one creature within 30 feet. Target must succeed on DC 12. Charisma save have disadvantage on ability checks, attack rolls, and saving throws through the whole next round. That's actually pretty nice. You can only use it twice per day, but that's probably the coolest. Actually, that might be the combo, is use taunt and then just fire with a short bow as an action, I guess, if I needed to have him attack anybody, and he would stay in the bar and just shoot through the windows. Which he's still on the initiative order. It's like the fastest one I've got. I think I'm keeping all these guys in reserve so far. The kitchen guy, the sheriff, I guess, whatever, constable. Guys, the docks up here. Powder's being kept up here still. I did aggro. These two are kind of outside Powder's workshop, but I think they're more just kind of, maybe they're aggroed, but they're designed to just guard this area, this doorway, and Powder's office. Which I could start on somebody's turn. I could have them go in here in the barracks and start aggroing just the few guys that are in here, which is not. I mean, I was just kind of randomly threw guys in here. I wasn't like meticulously trying to figure out how many people should actually be at the lair. I did say it was understaffed, but I think all told, there's actually, it's a good question. How many people are fighting them right now? They only defeated 3 people. I think it's, yeah, 3 people total. Last time. Oh, there's Cheese still there. Which Cheese is not going to be here anymore. Which were the people that were trying to like arrest them initially. So they've got 1, 2, 3 people down by Sabra. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 if we include the bar that emptied out, and is still about a dash away from, actually over a dash away from making it down to melee. They could go down to this door though and open it right where Twirl is. It's still going to take about a round for them to connect. Although if Twirl wants to open the door and step inside, he is more than welcome to. Funny enough, I don't think he would even see much of them. So they all round the corner. Yeah, they're all blocked by line of sight if he comes in that way. That's hilarious. Okay, now that I see it from their point of view, I do kind of like this map. The way it's all crazy windows everywhere. So that's 9. 10 Goblin Captain here. 11 Ogre Zombie we haven't rolled initiative for yet, but we will. So that's 11 stat blocks. Those 2 up there, I'm not really going to be aggroing them. We've got 6 more here, so that's 17 from the second floor. 18, 19 with the Lizard Folk down here. So we've got 19 kind of minion-style stat blocks. We're using Bandits, Orcs, Lizard Folk, and the occasional Thug, which is a lot stronger. Plus, we're going to introduce Scummer as a mini-boss. Scummer's Return, who's got some spells he can get, mainly just throwing fireballs at people. And the Merid, who can get summoned from Tentrix, will probably be his first move. And then on his next turn, he can do Call Lightning and summon the Storm Cloud above it for the next round. So we'll separate things out a little bit. That's a lot for the party to deal with. They do have distance to their advantage, although all the guys on the second floor will be range attacking him. So suddenly, this went from D&D to like fucking XCOM, where like you've got this whole like people are behind cover and you're worried about line of sight and like aggroing pockets of people. Like it's gonna be a whole just tactical battlefield, which is a big part of D&D, granted. At some point, I could have the giant show back up. The giant who's no longer a chicken. I don't know when the best timing for that would be. I like the idea that we talked about on Monday where their ship could be attacked because the giant would know their ship, knows they're in the harbor, so maybe he can go back, gather some allies who still lived at the Driftwood Docks area or something, take out a boat, or even just the giant by himself would probably be able to take over their ship pretty effectively, even at half health. And for that reason, like I'll talk to Chris about it if he wants to be like, no, I'm remaining on the ship because like I've got a scenario you can deal with. But the only thing that makes me nervous about that is because we're down to 3 people, and if I have one of those 3 people on the ship, that literally leaves only 2 people here on Tentrix's floating layer. And it's the wizard and the warlock. So that's going to make things pretty tricky. Like, I almost feel like the wizard is in a situation where she's got a gun with very limited bullets, like which is her spell slots. And like when she screams, I'm out, like it's going to get real fucking bad when they all charge. So she can keep them at bay for a while, but it's not going to be pretty. They could get the Merit on their side real quick. They could plane shift their way out of there. Yeah. They could. I'm not opposed to that. It would be very, very dissatisfying if they made it out of here without actually defeating Tentrix. I feel like that kind of needs to happen. Now, I'm not opposed to them defeating Tentrix and still leaving this place, an absolute bee's hive of angry pirates everywhere. They don't have to like scorch earth and defeat everybody in here. But defeating Tentrix should be a major goal of theirs for sure. And I would think that Gottwald would have a personal mission to want to take out Tentrix as well. And also getting the Merid would require getting the Merid conch from Tentrix. So presumably, the only way to do that is from defeating him. But I would be willing to, if they have some kind of shenanigans that involves visibility and sleight of hand and all this stuff, or stealing it, that would be useful. But that'd be a better thing to do if we weren't already in combat and have already alerted, the entire enemy outpost to your presence. On the other hand, maybe that's a great time to steal from the villain. I don't know. Maybe that's what we can have Mac do upon his return. But I definitely want them to take out Tentrix, and they should want to take out Tentrix as well. Speaking of which, we should go ahead and roll initiative for him. I'm just debating on whether to roll it on this level or the next level. I think I see Tentrix is only fighting on the second level. So I think maybe we'll just stick to this level to roll initiative, which I think we just did that on Scummer too, and Scummer is going to be... Basically, the players just aren't going to see a lot of the initiative order because of the way that the multi-level works until one of them moves up to this top level. All right, moment of truth. Let's put Tentrix in the group initiative. This determines basically when he summons the Merid. Is a 10. Once again, I'm rolling fairly bad for initiative. So that puts him just above Twirl. So on his turn, he will step out of his office and summon the Merid by rubbing his conch. Zing. And the Merid can be summoned, I think it's within 30 feet. Is that what we said was the Merid conch? I need to go back to that area. Deep Queen Spire. Mirrored conch. It's the same thing as the genie lamp. I think it's just a reflavored version. Yeah, 30 feet of you. And it serves you for an hour doing as you command. They could wait it out, I guess, if they manage to escape. Alright, so 30 feet of where he stepped out of, which I think was somewhere along this pier. Which it could be in the air, I guess, also. Because the Mirrored can fly. I think. So he can be summoned like there. Yeah, he's got a fly speed of 60. So we can summon the Mirrored. It can fly 60 feet. Which definitely gets it hovering right in the middle of that main area. Up in the air. And it can either throw tridents at people, which has disadvantage outside of range of 20. So got a really good attack. Plus 10 to hit and 2d6 plus 6 damage is very nice, but that's pretty short range. It can conjure a water elemental, which is some real bullshit, because if I was a player, I'd be like, all right, so your enemy summoned an enemy who's summoning an enemy? What the fuck is this? Like, yeah, that's pretty bad. So I don't know if I would actually go down that road, because the last thing I probably need to do is add more enemies on here. Unfortunately, none of his other spells are basically good for combat. Tongues, water breathing, water walk, control water, gaseous form, invisibility, and plane shift. All of those help him get out of combat, but not really attacking people. So the main thing is water jet, which does not have a recharge, according to this. He shoots water in a 60-foot line, essentially like a dragon's breath, I guess, with the line one. And each creature must make a DC 16 dex save. On a failure, take 66 bludgeoning damage and pushed up to 20 feet away and knocked prone. It is literally a fire hose. That is probably the one ability I would do. Even if it's just targeting one person, that's still worth doing. I know, some Inception. Like that, I mean, that really is some bullshit. If I was a player, I'd be like, no, you're going to summon an enemy who then summons his own enemy. And then the water elemental's like, and now I summon a method or something. Everybody's like, all right, we just gotta defeat the what is it, the patient zero, the summon zero, then that there's a chain reaction that defeats all the other ones. I guess I wonder if the Mirror would have to then concentrate on that conjure elemental, or the elemental would turn against him. That'd be pretty funny. 229 hit points though. That is more, significantly more than Tentrix or Scummer, which I cheated a bit and gave them like 150 hit points each. And I didn't cheat at all with the Mirror. It has a buttload. In fact, it's a named NPC, so I should give him more hit points. But that is pretty crazy. So once Tentrix goes, he'll summon the Mirrored, but the Mirrored, I guess, rolls initiative separately. So it's possible the Mirrored might not go for a long time. And they might not even know what's happening because he won't be summoned. But back here. Although I guess they would be able to see. Maybe? Let's see. You can kind of see, because you can... Oh, the door's open, that's why. I guess I can shut the door. Yeah, if I shut the door, that actually blocks line of sight. Let's do that. Blocks line of sight for it. Yeah, if I put them up there. Okay, so we'll leave that door shut. That way they can't quite see what's going on for that first summon from Tentrix. And Tentrix technically does have legendary action, so he could also, for legendary action, cast a spell, which could be Call Lightning. So I could be doing that right off the bat, actually, now that I think about it. Wonder if I should set that up as like a layer action. That's something I haven't... It's something I prefer to do, is treat legendary actions as layer actions and just have them kind of go like a once... Or organize them where it's like, hey, here's what happens at round 20 and here's what happens at 10, for example. What's tricky, though, the way he's balanced in this stat block is that his most useful one is to cast a spell, but it costs 3 actions, so that would be his one... like legendary action would be to cast an extra spell. Does Call Lightning take It does take an action. If I can keep Call Lightning going, then that would basically be easy for me to do, because I would just do the Call Lightning. But again, that would only be for the... I like the Homunculus idea. That the Homunculus is like targeting. It makes it very easy to take the Homunculus out, though, I think, because it's, again, got an AC 13. I guess you could make it flick in and out of windows and stuff to try to make it so they have to hunt this thing down. Let's see. It's... Oops, where did I put the token? There he is. So he's currently, like, flying around here. Did I have him on initiative? I do. Okay. That's cool. Thought of everything. So Homunculus has a flying speed of 40. So when it comes back, and it doesn't care, it can dash. So really, it's effectively got an 80. It could easily pop out, triangulate a position, and then pop into somewhere on the probably on the second floor. They have to spot it first, yeah. Oh, are you saying I should make like force like perception checks or something? Why this guy? Actually, having vision might not be a bad idea for this one. Basically have it kind of in here, maybe. So I guess it's right here. It's around here at first. But then it'll be able to fly its ass into here and then triangulate the position. It doesn't go until initiative 7. So I don't think... So I'll probably just delay the whole Call Lightning thing until next round. I think I'll have him come out, summon the Merid, and then let the Homunculus get back into position. Well, although if I set up Call Lightning to happen in initiative 20 each round... Yeah, we'll do it starting next round. That makes sense. Because we'll do this whole round, and then we'll get the Tentrix, and then he'll basically maybe turn on the Call Lightning, but we'll just have it happen in initiative 20. Yeah, I'd like Tentrix to stay back as much as possible. I think that would be fun and force the party to like fight their way to him. And I think as a big bad villain who has a lot of minions around, who's not like a big... he's more like a battlefield commander than he is a, captain or whatever the equivalent of that would be. Somebody who's actually down there with the troops fighting. He's more the general in the back. Even though he is literally a sea captain, I guess. My analogy's falling apart a bit. But yeah, I don't see the reason. He wouldn't see the reason to expose himself to the enemy. He probably respects them quite a bit. But he knows that he's got all his forces here, so he would send them kind of tactically out as much as he can, send Scummer and this Merid first to try to break him up. And then at some point, once the party actually, if they make it further in, he can start calling Powder to come out, and although she may not, depending on how I want to do that. And then his ultimate ability would probably be to summon this Colossal Octopus. We're just going to have to see how the party's doing, though. It'll be really interesting, right? I just don't know how much they'll be able to do this. But partly it's not my problem. It's like, hey, we were set up to do this in all kinds of ways, and you guys chose violence. So violence is what it's going to be for right now. Yeah, they do want to win, and they're not morons. Yep. Well, sometimes they are. Sometimes villains are morons, and I think that's fair, right? Like, you can definitely run enemies. If you've got a goblin tribe, for example, and you've got a hot-headed goblin leader who wants to just charge in the fray and do all that, then yeah, I think the party should, I think the DM should do that. Not every enemy should be run to its optimized maximum potential, but this is a situation where I think they should be. Should be the organized villain layer, and they're gonna have to deal with all these troops for sure. Looking forward to the chaos. Hopefully I can get in touch with Chris before Friday. We can figure out if we want to do anything special there, but there's going to be a lot going on. And unfortunately, I'm on vacation next week, so no matter where we leave off this week, it's going to have to be a big, cliffhanger for next week. I could technically get back on Friday, but Reese is also out next week as well. We finally had multiple people in my group sync up a vacation, so we will for sure not be doing D&D on the 11th, and then the jury's out on whether or not I'm actually going to do my crafting stream on Monday as well. We actually leave for our vacation on Tuesday. Most likely I will not, but that might be a game day decision if I feel like I need to do a stream, especially depending on what happens on Friday. We'll see. But for now, I think that will do it for this Thursday edition of Crafting the Deep. If you enjoy the content, as always, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. Shouts to Platinum patrons Joe, Will, Thomas, Stan, Brennan, Tensider, Eclectic Roleplay, Roll, Christopher, Gordy, Big Nut, John F, John L, Nathan, Kemperson, Counselor, Andrew, The Reldron, Stephanie, Patrick, Jason, Ismail, Amit, Libby, Spuds, Sharni, Warden, Harold, Udimona, LLC, Jamie, Reese, AJ, The Eating the Dogs, Luis, and Caleb, and Gold patrons RPG, Papergrams, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Deliza Lounge, Jerome, Nathan, Fast Like a Tortoise, Scott Ruffus, Carolyn, Jerry, Glenn, Marcus, and Mark. Thank you all very much for support. I will see you for D&D tomorrow.